I had one awesome awakening. Oh, hi, Jake. I was in your garage the other night. But I do want to thank you for coming out tonight. It means so much to me. You know, I've only shared before I came to Pennsylvania twice. So this is very, very fresh. I couldn't even talk about it. And if someone had told me 7 months ago that I would be in Pennsylvania with my face up next to an image of Christ, sharing my experience, I would have said, I don't know what you're drinking, but I don't want any of it. And yet, here I am. So, in 2009, I woke up one Saturday morning, and you know when you go to sleep and you sleep on your arm or your leg and it's tingling and it feels like it's asleep, but both my hands and both my feet felt like that. And I thought, how on earth did I sleep on all 4 limbs at once? As the day wore on, I got really, really ill. I started to stumble around. My wife's a nurse. She took me in the hospital. They said, you've got the flu, go home. So I went home. And Monday came, and I went to see my family doctor. And he said, you got the flu, go home. By the 3rd day, I was really, really ill. I went in there again, and he was slightly angry that I bothered him again. And I know, those of you in the medical field, you know, medicine is an imprecise science. But I was really sick. Finally, I went back in, and Lorraine said, I'll meet you at the doctor's office, and they've got to see you. And I fell in the parking lot. And they carried me in and up to his office. Finally, I got his attention. So he made an appointment for me with a neurologist. By now, another couple of days had gone by. And finally, I got to see Dr. Shafiq. And he examined me quickly, and he said, I'm admitting you right away to the hospital. And I said, well, what do you think this is? He said, well, it could be MS, multiple sclerosis. I knew that wasn't good. Or he said, it could be a rare disease called Guillain-Barré. We're going to do tests right away. And an hour later, I was getting all the tests, and he was there. And then he came back in and he said, Jim, I want to do a lumbar puncture on you. I don't know how many have had one of those. The needle's about that long. Something you'd use on a horse. Yeah. And I kind of flinched and assumed the position of, you know, laying my baby. And they inserted that into my spine. What they were looking for is a sure marker of Guillain-Barré is an elevated protein level in your spinal fluid. And in an hour, he came back in, and he had a really angry look on his face. And I said, what's wrong? And he said, there's the vial. It's cloudy. Jim, you have Guillain-Barré. But he said, I'm afraid, my friend, that you are condemned to a life of pain. And, you know, at that point, I was in hospital, I was medicated, I didn't feel that bad. So that was 2009. 2010, 2011, I was trying to, in the meantime, I had a couple of companies, manufacturing companies. And as the years rolled by, I got sicker and sicker and could do less and less. So fast forward to April of this year. And by this time, I had tried every medication in the book. I'd gone to London, England to see specialists. I'd been everywhere. I would get out of bed in the morning by rolling and falling onto the floor. And then when I got enough strength, pull myself up to a standing position and wait again until I could move my feet. And the pain was overwhelming. And I look back now and never once did I ask God for help. The arrogance, the sheer arrogance that I had was overwhelming. Oh, I'll beat this, you know. Well, I didn't. The only thing that and it's important for you to know, I never ever used or abused drugs. I mean, as a pilot, well, I wouldn't anyway. My idea of getting high was going up 30,000 feet and then up in the sky. But I just was so sick, and I was sick of being sick. I was literally out of my mind with pain. And I took an overdose of narcotics. And I died. I died. Subsequent to all this, I found out that I was not even found for 12 hours. No brain sign, no pulse, nothing. Absolute flatline. But here my journey begins. And so, bear with me, because this is hard for me to talk about. The last thing I remember as I slipped over the edge was 3 words. God, forgive me. 3 simple words that saved my life. And it's true what they say, a classic tunnel. And I'm going 1,000 miles an hour. I'm horizontal, laying down, feet first. And tremendous sensation of speed, but no wind. No wind, but just knowing you're traveling. Light and dark, like a cloudy tunnel. And I was conscious. I can remember everything that I thought. Everything that I thought. And I remember thinking, what have I done? What have I done? Left my wife, my kids. Before I could think much else, I started to slow down, and as I came to the end, I was upright. And I stepped out and looked down onto grass. The most brilliant, beautiful green grass you could ever imagine. And I looked up, and everything was misty and foggy. And I could sense to my left a darkness. If you've ever been to England, caught in one of those pea soup fogs, that's what it was like. And cold and clammy, and just a place you wouldn't want to be. I could hear from the darkness mumbling, like there was someone in another room. We've all heard that, where you're not sure what's going on, and you know there's people in there, but you can't tell what they're saying. And instinctively, I kept turning to the light, and the more I turned to the light, the more the mumbling increased, and I then began to hear my name being whispered. James, come this way, over here. We have to talk to you. This way. It just didn't sound right. So I moved more to the right, and the more to the light that I moved, the more insistent that became. You know what that was. And now I began to get scared. I began to get really scared. And then I started to walk toward the light. And then I could feel even more insistent, like something pulling at my shoulder, and I didn't want to turn around and see what it was. And then I said 3 more very important words. God, help me. And as I said that, the light behind the mist of that beautiful Pennsylvania morning became lighter. And I looked and I could see 3 points like stars. One here, one here, and one here. Now when you're a pilot, you're trained to have good spatial reference, so that if you lose your altimeter, you can guesstimate how long it is before you're going to hit the ground. So you head to the back of the plane. You never hear of a plane backing into a mountain. I had to use a little humor to get me through this. And as I looked, those 3 points of light were coming toward me on probably a 65 degree angle toward me. And as they came toward me, the light got brighter, and then I could see they had a human form. And I remember saying to myself, are these angels? And folks, they were. They were. And they were gliding down. And as they got nearer, as I said, I'm good at being able to tell distances and so on. They're big. The shortest one was about 10 feet tall. The other one was probably 13, and the other one was about 15 feet tall. And I couldn't see their faces. You know what it's like on a hot day in Pennsylvania? You're going on the road, and the sun's hitting the road, and the shimmer effect comes up in front of your car. Their faces were covered with that. It was covered with the shimmer. But let me tell you how they looked. They had the classic robes on. The robes glowed, and the hems of their robes turned into mist. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. The tallest angel and the last one that glided down clearly was in charge. He had a pendant around his neck, and he just seemed more dignified and clearly in charge. And you could tell the other angels deferred to him. And he had this half-moon medallion on a chain, and there were what looked like hieroglyphics or ancient, I don't know if it was Aramaic or Hebrew, I don't know. But clearly he was a person of importance. All angels are important. As you can imagine, I'm just mystified. And they came toward me, and the first angel, and all of a sudden, the shimmer disappeared. And I saw the most incredibly beautiful face. Neither male nor female. I think the best of all of us. Very, very light, almost white hair. And eyes that were between blue and purple. Now I know that's going to sound strange, but that's how deep their eyes were. And as he glided toward me, he smiled at me. The most glorious smile, the most incredible warmth, and a feeling that they were genuinely happy to see me.